Thank you for tuning in to the Okinawa Karate Podcast. As always, I am Josh Simmers, coming to you from the birthplace of karate, Okinawa, Japan. I'm joined by two very special guests today. One that is not new to the podcast, and of course not new to the Kangeiko, you all know, Mr. Jason Perry Sensei. But I am super honored to have his father, Hanshi Perry, with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I am Josh, not in Okinawa, and it's killing me to sit here and have to talk to you over a screen. I'd love to be there with you.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got something I'm going to show you later on. Might make it even harder for you.
Man.
So we're sitting here on, what is it, December 30th, where I live, 29th, where you're at, and I understand you're in North Carolina visiting your father after Christmas and leading up to New Year's. You just got back from the dojo, I understand.
We did. We had a great time. So I'm over out in North Carolina from Monterey. We're at California, where I live now, and fortunately, since it ripped me away from Okinawa, ripped my heart out as I left. But I tell you, there's an upside to everything, and the upside is, of course, being able to come back home and visit my family, my dad and my siblings. We've got the entire family here.
First time in years that we've had all the siblings here, and so it's really been wonderful. So again, I really miss it out there in Okinawa, but there's certainly some real goodness to being home. So
that's great that you're back there, though, and I understand we've talked several times since you've been back in the States. It is hard for you missing Okinawa, but we've also talked about how great it is to be there with your father and to be with the rest of your family stateside. So we are happy for you, but we do miss you over here as well. So I want to get talking about this Kangeiko. This is why we're here. We're going to talk about the Kangeiko, and I want to get Hanshi Perry's take on this. I know I've spoken with Jason Perry Sensei a lot and recorded a lot with you, but now we have the opportunity to get the man that created the person that's created the Kangeiko for us. So I'd like to get some feedback from Hanshi Perry. What are his thoughts? This being our third year, going into the Kangeiko, what has he thought about the first two, and any words of advice for us going into the third?
So this is our third year doing the Kangeiko.
Yeah.
Of course, it was started me and really at Josh's encouragement to make it what it is. This is our third year doing it, and I think you actually participated in the first one.
I did.
What are your thoughts on the Kangeiko in general?
I think it's a good idea, and I think it makes people kind of wake up. I think, as most people that know me know, I've trained all my life. So I started fighting in 1949. Yeah, 1949, before most of you guys were born. And I've had a good run at it, but I enjoyed the Kangeiko for the simple reason of other people. I mean, guys would send me little things on my computer, and they'd be sweating bullets and this, that, and the other. And it really made me feel good to what you guys had put together to do that. Now, I've got bad shoulders and this, that, and the other, and pushing 86 years old. But the Chiishi, I could not do. I can get it up to here, but this won't work. But hey, that thing, Chiishi.
Chiishi.
Yeah, I'm saying it right. Anyway, that's where the complaints came from. Jason was out there flipping that thing around like it was a toothpick. and guys were, really, they said, this is tough stuff. But I had a lot of people, they enjoyed it, I think. Really enjoyed, hey, this is the start of the year, so to speak. But that, I enjoyed it myself. I usually use a Joe as a walking stick, but I went out and walked, but I had to use two. But I got my miles in, and I didn't run them, but I got them in.
That's the key right there. That's what we wanted to hear, and that's the takeaway for a lot of us. I want to say when we were doing the Chi workout, I was
We
humbled
fit up
by
way
your
more
son.
than we could chew. That was so ill advised.
And this is what a lot of people don't realize. When we were recording those workouts, when your son was here on Okinawa, he was modifying them as we were going. And the
because I was dying. Who in the world thought this up?
And specifically the Chi workout, he changed 2 or 3 exercises there, saying, "I think we got to cut this down a little bit."
Yeah, we were going to lose people. That's right.
Plus,
including me.
We have a tendency to make Chi a little bit heavier than we probably should to start out, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, those are fun. Those are fun. No, I remember that time. Again, it's only 3 years, so we're only talking about two that we've done so far. But when we finished that workout, and Josh and I finally put our gi tops on, and we tried to walk down. There's these steps down to the beach, and I remember my legs. I thought I'm never going to get down the steps.
Yep.
But then there was something about seeing the sun coming up over Hamahiga out there and Ikejima, and we just decided to do a kata. I think we did Pion Shogun or something like that.
We did.
And we just very completely exhausted, but just going through a kata. And it was like this moving meditation. And it was really, I went home though that day feeling really good.
Yep.
The next day I felt a little rough, but.
Yeah. Oh, I did too.
One of my favorite things that I saw on there was Joshi Tom Harris. He bless his heart. He filmed everything. They took a picture of him coming back, and he said, regardless of everything else and how horrible I feel, I made it.
You made it.
He said, that was. He said that was my aim. He said, I don't look good, but I made it.
That's right.
Right. Well, and that's, I had no idea what a Kangeiko was until your son came up with this idea to share it with all of us. And then that's what I took away from it as well. The first year I was having a lot of problems with my back. I was very limited to what I could do with certain exercises, but just getting up every morning and trying to do something rather than saying it's cold, even here in Okinawa, and making excuses, it was just do something. Like you said, walking with 2 Joes. That's the inspiration that we should all get from something like the Kangeiko, right?
I'll say that the most pitiful thing I saw that first year was Josh behind the camera, and you could tell it was killing him. His back was tore up, and he's like, I want to train.
Yeah.
That first year, though, and I think this is true that I saw a lot of people struggling with COVID and the isolation and all that. People need each other, and people need to associate with each other. But you can train for yourself, right? Your training is for you. But we need each other. And the theme this year is Kyozon Kyoei, which is to live together and prosper together. And the idea being that first year, you just saw it. You saw everybody come together, and that's what made it special, was this idea of bringing people together, regardless of where they came from, to have this experience and to challenge themselves, not to learn or test each other, but to test themselves, challenge themselves. And it really turned into something kind of special.
Well, I'd really like to thank the people that participated this year. Now, it was mostly you 2 guys that you saw before, but this year, you got some more people that are, doing things and expanding it. And I think that's what it's all about. You don't have, I had a dojo for 50 years or something like that. And, and it wasn't just me. It was the people that were there. So now that the Kangeiko is starting to spread out, and now we don't have 1, 2. We've got 5, 6, and 7, and 8 people that are doing it, and I certainly do appreciate that kind of participation. And I think everybody enjoyed, the just doing it, and then seeing other people doing it. It was it's a good experience. I wish I was, no, I don't. I started saying, I wish I was 70 years younger. But as Jason in the book, I've already lived, I think, 75 years longer than he figured. He wrote in the book that the miracle of my daddy is that he got out of
He's still here.
high school without getting killed or going to prison for the rest of his life.
I know. I read the book, and I'm surprised you're still here too. I got to be honest with you. There's a couple episodes. There's a couple episodes at Myrtle Beach that would have taken most people out.
Hey, I've had a good life, no matter how long I'd like to still be around to watch you children train and watch the people grow, and people that I hadn't seen for years, and it's a good thing, and it's bringing people together. It doesn't matter what system you are or anything like that. We all do the same thing, have the same goals. The reason that people train doesn't make any difference as long as they train. Are you looking at it as a life protection, or do you enjoy competition, or do you just enjoy getting together with people and training and having friends and making more friends? It doesn't matter about the patch. The patch is important, but it doesn't matter about the patch. When I started, when I start down here,
a Little Okinawa.
Yeah, when I started Little Okinawa here,
that's a camp that Dad hosted many years ago for many years. Wait, 25 years.
But when before that, if you were for a kind of a patch, you went to somewhere there or somewhere here, and I think it was the first year we had that. Jim Loeb, who was one of Taikyo Yazo's.
Kempo Karate.
He called me up and said, "Do you mind if a couple of us come up there?" And I said, "Heck no." We were friends, and he came up, and then the next thing you know, I get somebody else call. Next thing you know, we had people there from like 11 countries and all over the United States. It was, and it's been special, and I am still in touch with a lot of the people that came to the first 1 or 2, things. And I think with this thing that you guys are doing, we'll bring people together the same way. You may laugh at each other, I've been laughed at, believe me, more than once, but I've had a good life, and if it ends, I'm still going away in a blaze of glory. And, but I think that the Kangeiko has brought people together, like me looking at Tom Harrison laughing. But it wasn't a ha-ha laugh. It was a happy laugh, because Tom was tired. I'll put it that way. I'm not picking on Tom. He's one of my best friends. But I think the Kangeiko is going to spread out like that, or is spreading out like that.
Absolutely.
And I've said enough already. Some point,
I'm trying to remember last year, Jason Perry Sensei, how many different participants and covering different countries?
I think we had 7 different countries, 100 and change number of participants, but yeah, seven
Seven
countries. And
countries.
yeah, but to Dad's point, I mean, I've got people now just through the Kangeiko that I never would have imagined meeting, that I've actually never met. And yet I feel like if I met them today, that I'd have this kinship friendship with them, that as if we'd known each other for 3 years, and so I really do. I mean, again, aside from what Dad Perry Sensei was saying, it really is. That's a true statement. I mean, you a lot of friendships, I think, can develop through that association with each other, whether it's Kangeiko or whether it's something else. I mean, it doesn't have to just be this event, but it's a way that as people share tough, challenging things together, that forges bonds of friendship. I mean, I think that's why Marines and any other kind of military organization or a dojo or something like that, you have that relationship, because you endure hard things together and you support each other through the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when you do that, there is something special about it. You can't quite put your finger on. It's a little bit of love, it's a little bit of envy, it's a little bit of threat, it's a little bit of danger, it's a little bit of all that, all wrapped into one. And it keeps you on your toes, and it keeps you fresh. That's the energy I get from it.
I cannot disagree with any of that. I wholeheartedly believe that, and that's what makes a really good dojo. And people get to feed off of that, feed off the other person.
Right.
Especially when you show up, sometimes you're not feeling motivated that day. You're not ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your training partner is, or 5 other people in the dojo, they're ready to go. And that's the thing with the Kangeiko as well that I learned. Even though you and I recorded the sessions together,
right,
came time to release it and to kick off the Kangeiko, 2 months later, a lot of times, right?
right.
Now we're doing it by ourselves. So now we're going
through
it again. So we're having to do it a second time, which sometimes was worse because we knew what was coming.
Yeah, that's right.
But other people out there in California, in Germany, and all these other places around the globe were doing the same thing. And some of them, it took months to get to do it because of work and other obligations, but they still did it. They were still posting their videos months afterwards, right? Because they felt that commitment to the team almost.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's interesting, I think, because in karate is about us developing ourselves. I think, it's about us. It's an individual effort, right? But at the same time, it is a community, and so and there's just such good people in the community that you don't want to give that up. So it's like there's this. It's not tension, but you train for yourself. And the motivation to train tomorrow has to come from within you. It's good to have outside peer pressure, but ultimately the motivation to train tomorrow has to come within the individual. But then there's always that community that pushes you just a little harder. And that's the energy I think you get from the group, especially when it's a good, encouraging, constructive, edifying environment. And that's really what it should be all about. And sometimes we can lose sight of that maybe a little bit. But if we stay focused on that aspect of it, then everybody wins. Everybody grows. Everybody benefits from the art.
Well, that leads me to a question. It's almost like you did that on purpose, but I know you didn't.
No.
But it actually leads me to a question that I had written down here that I wanted to ask Hanshi Doug Perry. In this particular book right here that you might be familiar with.
Here you go. Stand by.
your son put one of your quotes in this book. He put many of your quotes in this book, but one in particular is talking about the difference between self-expression and self-understanding. You describe self-expression as your external manifestation, showing something externally. When we're doing kata to show other people, that's our self-expression.
So when we first do
yeah.
kata and we are expressing ourselves through the kata, right? Or
Now the flip side of that,
you're trying to impress somebody, either in a tournament or getting promoted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
yes, sir.
And then the flip side of that, he's going to continue the
The
question
flip
now.
side of that is the self-understanding, doing it for you,
Yes.
the singular focus. And my question
Uh-huh.
is, can you tell us along your journey, when did you understand that concept, and when did you change from self-expression to self-understanding? Was it something a sensei pointed out to you? Was it something you learned from boxing or from shag dancing? How did this come about for you?
I think the whole thing, there's pieces that come, and I would read something. I'm not a very intelligent person. I got a standing ovation from the teachers when I graduated from high school, and then Judge Winton Boyd and my daddy put me in the Marine Corps right after that. And I was too little to get in the Marine Corps, so they called headquarters Marine Corps, and I was a 4-time national Golden Gloves boxing champion, but I was too little. And the guy at the headquarters Marine Corps said, "I don't care if he weighs 40 pounds, put him in." That's back when the four, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, it was big time, this and that and the other. But one of the things that I found out through all of this self-expression and self-understanding is that it's not doing kata, it's becoming kata. Does that make any sense?
Wow. Well, it does. It makes sense in theory. It makes sense in theory. It makes sense to think about it verbally. Where I struggle, honestly, is trying to implement that, right, and to feel that. And I think that honestly, if I'm truthful with myself, and I think if other people are truthful, I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. And they might feel like they're doing it for themselves when they're alone, as long as they're not looking in a mirror, right? But then when they get in that dojo, in front of their sensei, in front of their peers, in front of family members or whoever, then it's that difficult part of turning off the self-expression and still keeping it as self-understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's probably better than I could tell you. It's just things that I've learned over 75 years of contact, so to speak, this kind of contact. But I learned so much from friends, from competition. I went through the competition thing. I enjoyed that, and I've had a good life of it. I've had I think because of karate and all the training that I've had over the years from many of them in Okinawa, I think I can go. I don't want to use the word die, but I can now retire. Now they've elected that Jason will take over for me because now I can't hear, etc. But I've had a good life in what I've done. I'm happy for what I've done. I'm proud of my own son. He outranks me now, but I'm in the Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps. He doesn't, and I'm still daddy, no matter what you say. But I've had a great life, and when I go, I'll go.
Well, and that's a great attitude that we should all be able to take with us. Yeah, I think we can all appreciate that. You know, you were as you were talking there, it made me think of something else. When I was reading, you know, in the book here, that you arrived in 1965, March 22nd, 1965. You arrived here in Okinawa for the first time.
First time to Okinawa, March 22nd, 1965, on the way to Vietnam.
Yes.
That's basically 58 years ago, right? And I'm curious to get what was your thought? What went through your mind? This young man from the country of North Carolina. What were you thinking when you got out on Okinawa? Not on the military base, but I mean when you got out away from the Marine Corps, a few steps off base. What was going through your mind? Can you recollect that first time, that first week here on this island?
The first thing that I noticed was the difference in the color of the ocean. You know, that, I mean,
Yeah.
the water, because I'd hung around Myrtle Beach and Ocean Drive and Cherry Grove and this, that, and the other all my life, since 12 years old. But I had never seen anything, I don't want to use the word, I had never seen anything that beautiful. And that was my first impression. You know, I had not been to Vietnam. No one had shot me, and I don't think I'd shot anybody before that. But this hit me, and that hit me in that way. The other thing that hit me in Okinawa over the first thing was how courteous they were. You know, they were courteous people. And that always stuck with me, and I tried to return that, you know, to them and to what I did for a living, which is being in the Marine Corps. And I've had a good run at it. That's the best answer I can give you.
You're preaching to the choir there with the understanding of the culture and how courteous they are and trying to reflect that. And I can tell you that the man sitting to your right definitely exemplifies that. Seeing him both in and out of the dojo and how he carries himself here in Okinawa is true to that form. One other thing that struck me as kind of interesting in the book, you talked about this, and then also when you did an interview with Chris Wilson, you talked about training with Tatsuo Shimabukuro Sensei,
Yes.
the founder of Ishin Ryu.
Yeah.
At the end of class, you said Tatsuo Sensei would sit there and drink his tea and speak to the Marines, talk to you and the other Marines, but you could not understand a single word he was saying.
Oh, no.
What did you think he was saying?
What did you think? What did you think Tatsuo Sensei was saying at the end of class while he sat there and sipped his ocha?
We had the Marines. None of us spoke any Japanese. You know, we went down there. When I walked into the dojo, Sensei would point at the maki board. I went back every night with bloody hands, and I'd go get in the shower, which had about 4 things, and just lay there. You know, and next night you go back down, he spoke no English, we spoke no Japanese, the Marines, and then when the class was over, he would go up and have tea and talk to us.
Did you think he was angry? Did you think he was, what did you think he was saying? I didn't have a clue.
I mean, the Okinawans, you know, they were the 5 or 6 Okinawans we had and 6 or 7 Marines, and as soon as it was over, you know, he got up and went in. Now, the Okinawans, and this is nothing against the Okinawans, but they would leave because they knew the Marines wanted to get out there and do kumite. And as soon as he went in the door, we would just stare up, and here we go. And in the long run, I really learned that the Okinawans didn't really concern themselves that much with this. Okay, not that much, but that they, and I learned this in later life, we're looking, in my opinion, that's what it is, instead of the worldly training, which is, they were looking at the universal benefits to the body, the mind, the heart, that they looked at that more so than they did this. And of course, as Marines, we were paid to fight. That's what we were paid for. And we had a good time. But them Okinawans, they didn't shake their head. They didn't, I'm sure they didn't fear us or anything like that, but I think they think we were crazy. But to be in the Marine Corps, you had to be a little bit crazy, if you know what I mean. And I've earned the right to say that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's all I'm going to say.
Looking back at that time in 1965, and then Vietnam and back, and Vietnam and back, did you ever think honestly that you'd be sitting here today? Of course you're back in the United States of America, but you still have friends here on Okinawa. You've made lifelong friends. I mean, I had the pleasure to meet Gibo Sensei, who thinks the world of you, right? Did you ever think for a second, when you go all the way back into Tatsuo Shimabukuro Sensei's dojo and you're there doing this kumite, did you ever think you'd be sitting here today talking about that and know that you have friends that would welcome you into their home over here in Okinawa?
I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea about the Okinawan people. I come not just to respect them through karate, mostly, but come to the way that they live. And Itosu is one of my heroes. And I think he was probably the last of the real warriors that trained to finish a fight real quick. Because he said at one time, if the fight lasts 4 seconds, it's too long. But I've had a real respect for Okinawans for years. And one of the things I'm so proud about Jason was, we went to camp. He ended up with one of the master's sons. The other guy did not speak any English. Jason did not speak any Japanese. They were in a room, and Jason made a decision then, I'm going to learn this. And now he speaks better Japanese than the Japanese does.
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
No, that's true. I got to tell you, my wife, when he came in here, I think it was the first time you were probably at my house, and we were looking at something kanji related. I think you were talking about the certificates for the Kangeiko. And you were asking. And when you left, my wife was like, "Oh my gosh." She's not here, so I'll say this. She's like, I almost feel embarrassed. This is her talking, right? Like his level of kanji, because thousands of kanji, right? And you can't even begin to understand them all. But yeah, he's pretty remarkable, isn't he?
No, that was Gibu Sokuichi's son, Makoto, who is now the head of the Butoku Kan right there in Urasoe. And I got to see Makoto Sensei in, I guess it was at the World Taikai, just right before we left. But just a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. And he really is the reason I decided to learn karate, And when I see him today, it's always just a wonderful reunion. So, yeah, that's great.
Since I've got the two of you sitting there, there's some questions that I wanted to ask about teaching your son. And I wanted to get your first memories of teaching your son karate. I read about it. And I talked to him.
What are some of your first memories of teaching me? Because my first memories of learning karate might not be your first memories of teaching me karate, because I won't remember some of it.
This goes back to fun. I mean, My wife, God rest her, she passed away, but she was about 4'11", weighed about 90 pounds, and everybody was scared of her, including me. But anyway, I started Jason on the maki water board when but it was a soft maki board. And he was about 3 years old. And he had his little gi on, and he was out there. And Shannon was, what, 18 months? About 18 months, his sister. Jason was hitting that and turned and dropped Shannon. She had a little diaper on, and Jason just went boom.
And Josh, you know what I said when I did it, right?
Should have ducked.
The only problem with that, Josh, the only problem with that was my wife was standing up on the thing, and Jason's training ended right then. And he didn't start again till he was probably 5.
I don't know.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years old before she'd let him train again.
Well,
and maybe a little hyperbole there, but I know.
But he did. And they would say, "Moosh." I used to break fire when you were what, 6 years, 6, 7? He's 6, 7 years old. I could break concrete blocks on his stomach and things like that. Wow. And one of the things is I never taught Jason to fight. Okay, I saw him. He looks just like his son, about this big around and tall. I taught him kata. I taught him how to fight, not let him fight, not me teach him to fight, because he fought me a lot of times, and got about 15 years old, he got a little too even. But he took it on himself to study karate and to develop into what he is today, including the culture. There's a lot of people can speak Japanese, but to speak Japanese, understand the culture and the history. He took us to where the Marines landed on Oki, on the hill.
Yes.
And he didn't have a thing. He was telling us people's names and what was in there and this, that, and the other.
He took me too. Yes, I know.
That's taking a lot of time to learn.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my whole story.
Well, I didn't know. I heard stories from him about training as a young child, or his earliest memories, but I never heard the one about punching his sister. So that's a new one. I'm glad I asked that question. But
I got a picture somewhere, and I will get you a copy of it.
Okay,
but
I will gladly
all
take
you
that.
can see was Jason and me holding the mocking board, and Shannon was back here, and then about 2 seconds or something later, boom, he dropped her.
Well, if
Joy came out there, and then
she probably had her chances to get back over the years.
Oh yeah.
So along with teaching your son karate, did he also pick up the skill to dance?
Well, he's not in his daddy's class, but he's for him, he's a good dancer. He's a good dancer with the thing, but he is not Hall of Fame categories.
I've seen your videos.
Being a shagger is unique.
Well, I have seen your videos, and before I ever even knew who you were, I heard stories of this man named Hanshi Doug Perry, and boy, can he dance. I'm not kidding. I heard stories about it. So I was wondering if anybody else in the family followed in those footsteps, literally.
No, Jason is a good dancer. He can do 3 or 4 or 5 different types of dancing. The only thing I ever learned was the cha-cha and shag. Never cared about anything else. But
well, I was told once. I was told that to be a better karateka, that I should work on dancing. And I have 2 left feet, so I guess that's why my kata looks the way it does.
Oh,
I have
it's a when I first went to the beach and tried to dance, I hitchhiked down to Myrtle Beach, and I wasn't good. And if you weren't good enough to dance, in the crowd, the small crowd
on the floor
that they looked at, the big boys just throw you off. So I was a couple of years before I earned the right to literally get on the floor and stay. Otherwise I had to dance out here somewhere where none of the girls could see me except the one I was dancing with. And that wasn't cool.
That wasn't good enough.
I know this is not going to be, I know this ain't going to be on the Kangeiko.
Dad, it's all
I think it is. This is what people want to hear. I do have one more. I have one more actual question for you that I've been wanting to ask you since I read this book, 3 or 4 years ago. Of all the names that you could come up with, all the aliases that you could come up with as a young boxer, why Lindsay Moshe?
That came from, I had no idea. Doug Perry was an amateur fighter, but you could get $15 for a four round pro fight. Okay, but if you were caught fighting pro, you could no longer compete in amateur. So Leo knew that I was, to me, $20 was a lot of money. If it's 6 rounds, you got $35. And so he said, but you got to have a name. You can't go down and say, I'm Doug Perry, because the AAU would throw you out. And I said, well, what do you think? He said, I got one for you. So he gave me the name Lindsay Moshe. And I thought it sounded cool.
It sounds foreign. I mean,
Yeah.
when you showed up, I wonder, did people think that cannot be his name?
Hey, I took a lot of heat about that in the later years.
Well, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of a song, A Boy Named Sue. Johnny Cash sang a song about his dad knew he wasn't, his dad was going to leave him or something like that. Or I can't remember the song. So he's like, I got to give you a tough name. So maybe that's what your trainer was thinking. You're going to go in there and fight as a pro. I'm going to give you a name that's going to make you fight.
You're gonna have to fight. Hey, you're right. If you were Lindsay Moshe, you had to be good.
I read that, I thought, what the heck? What a name! What a name! That's good, but good stories. Hey, I'll tell you, I really, this isn't, an interview to try to push this book, but I got to tell you, I enjoyed this book. This was really good. A lot of good information in here, and when I picked it up, I thought, well, this is just going to be another run-of-the-mill book about a karateka that came to Okinawa. That wasn't it at all. So I'm glad you got on board with your son trying to write that and helped out with that. Thank you very much for allowing that to happen. And for living the life, for living that life. 12 years old, hitchhiking from Western North Carolina to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Different time.
Yeah. Well, back in those days, you could do that, and I used to steal my daddy's 1930 A-model Ford at night. My mom and daddy, they were adopted parents, and they were 58, 59 years old when I was born. They adopted me, when I was, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. I would steal the car. They'd go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, and I would sneak out of the house and get in that A-model Ford and up and down the road and this, that, and the other, all around Charlotte. never got stopped till the day I was 16 years old, got my license, and got a ticket for running a red light.
Somebody was looking out.
Can't make it up. Can't make it up.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Uh,
I wanted to show you something. I wanted to grab something to show your son to tease him about not being here in Okinawa. One moment. This goes along with the theme a little bit this year too as well, but yesterday was Mochi Day.
It was what?
what is that?
Have you ever Mochi?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen
Mochi. Mochi. The mochi. The
Oh.
Okinawans fold theirs in these banana leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did not make this. She picked this up at the store. We have made it, but you know who makes this all the time is the Nix family.
Oh, right.
And we have these leaves growing in this plant or tree growing in our backyard. We've made it before. But I'm showing you this just to entice you. Look at the size
it purple?
of this leaf.
Goodness gracious. And is the mochi purple?
It is not this. This one's not. Normally they'll put the bean paste in there. Now I should be running this under the faucet, and I'm not going to take my computer over there and do it. But that's the mochi or muchi in Japanese.
You see the mochi? Right? It's called muchi in Okinawan and uchinaguchi, but mochi in Japanese.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
So very, very, very sticky. And I'll take this over and I'll run it under the water and peel it out of this. So they wrap it up inside here and they steam it. I don't know how long they steam it. We've done it before. Mm-hmm. We steam it and then you let it cool down. You eat it. But a lot of times we'd put the purple powder in there, the potato, powder in there with it.
The benimo. The benimo.
Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna eat that later, and I'll think about you when I'm doing that.
Now, please do.
Pat McGill Sensei told me years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, if I eat that, it'll make my kata better. I've been eating it every day, and I'm waiting.
I had a country ham biscuit this morning with an egg in it.
Well, that will make your kata better right there. Oh. I missed that. Well, listen, I really appreciate this time. I can't thank you enough. One of these days, I'll be there in person, and I'll get to talk to you in person, sir. I'm gonna come out there to North Carolina before long. I got to come visit you and some other people. So, or you can come back to Okinawa with your son.
Get back to Okinawa. Well, so here's the deal I have with Henoko. The mayor of Henoko, good friend of mine, of course. I had dinner with him right before I left. And I told him, when you turned 88 is Beiju, right? That's the celebration of the 88th birthday. It's a big deal in the town. And so I told the mayor of Henoko that I was going to bring you out to Okinawa for your 88th Beiju, the year you turn 88. And we were gonna have you go up with all the other 88 years olds in Henoko Village of Nagote City, and we were gonna do your Beiju in Okinawa. So that's the plan. So there you go. I have now said it in public. So let it be written. So let it be done.
Now I gotta live that long.
That's it. That's it.
There you go.
Easy day.
Now you have a goal.
Hey, I appreciate you doing this. This has been fun. I know none of it's going to get on the thing, but
none of it.
This has been fun.
None of it.
When you get to the United States, I am one stop. You come and stay at my house.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Hey, Josh, thanks for doing this. Thank you. This has been great. I will say, just that as we close out, this is the last day of the Kangeiko. I'll maybe have to do another video, but for everybody who participated, really, really glad to see everybody, the friends who came back this year again and again, even though, it's not the easiest thing to do. I appreciate it. You give me the energy and the motivation to continue to train and to do this. And I appreciate all the positive spirit that everybody brings with them. I especially appreciate all those teachers who partnered with me this year to make this one a little bit different than years past. And that's been really, really special to be able to work with those very accomplished instructors, accomplished in their own right, who I look up to have them participate with me in this has been really a special privilege. And then of course to be able to do this here with my dad, my sensei, and that's kind of a cool thing too. So Josh, thank you to you as well for helping me put all this together.
Pleasure. Always my pleasure. I still laugh about the first year when you said you wanted to do this, and I kind of forced my way in. Said I wanted.
Oh man.
Much
if I told people what I envisioned, they'd be like, "What? That's all you were gonna do?"
Much appreciated.
Josh, I really do appreciate what you're doing and everything you've done for Jason and karate in general. I appreciate that.
I've done nothing. Yeah, I've just been learning. I mean,
it's been fun.
I've been learning, and I continue to do it, and I love it. So thank you very much. Thank you for raising a fine young man, because he's benefiting a lot of us. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm gonna leave you with a Perryism thought.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you get to the United States and do not come here and see me, you'll never hear the round go off. And if you run, you'll only die tired.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Spread your life. There you go.
Thank you. I will come see you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
That's the most profound expression of affection I've ever heard my dad express.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. You guys, hey, have a happy new year, okay?
You too.
Same to you, buddy.
We'll be in touch as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. We'll see you.
Appreciate it, little buddy.